everybody. This is Casey Murphy. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Sitetuners, and I'm really excited to welcome you to our first webinar of 2014. And this is our favorite webinar to put on because it's everyone's favorite topic, live landing page reviews. We have literally hundreds of submissions. Tim has picked 17 sites that he's going to be reviewing today, and it's going to go rapid fire, so definitely fasten your seatbelt. This is going to be a fast one. We're going to be recording it today, so you can, after you get the link, which we will email out to you later this afternoon, you can play it back in slow motion to catch all the great advice Tim is going to give. And real quick, before I hand it over to Tim, I just want to let you know if the sound you're hearing is choppy, you might want to first try closing any instant messaging, Outlook, any other programs that a lot of times interferes with your bandwidth and makes your experience of the webinar seem not so great. So with that, I'd like to introduce my boss, Tim Ash. He's the author of the book Landing Page Optimization. He's the founder and chairman of Conversion Conference, and he's the CEO of Sitetuners. Tim, have a great time.
Thanks very much, Casey. Welcome, everybody, and please, let's make some noise out there. We want to hear your feedback. The best way to do that is to tweet. CRO is the hashtag, at Tim_Ash, so make yourselves heard. Let us know what you think. We're very much living in the age of social media. As Casey said, I'm going to do what's even a record for me. I'm going to try to do 17 of these in an hour. So kid gloves are coming off, so bedside manner is going bye-bye. If you didn't want to hear this, you shouldn't have submitted your URL. I'm afraid we won't be able to get to everybody's, obviously, but we'll have a special offer for you that'll hopefully take some of the sting off when we're done. A little bit about Sitetuners, just real quick. We are a conversion rate optimization agency. We work with both small and large companies, and we have three main practice areas. Of course, coming up with test plans and testing strategy, but also redesigns of whole websites from a conversion perspective, basically a blueprint for a high-converting web experience. And finally, usually for our larger clients, we do quite a bit of internal knowledge transfer, internal training, how to create optimization cultures inside of companies. So enough of that. What I'm going to talk about are ugly babies. If you've read my book, you've probably heard me say your baby is ugly, so let's do some. I'm going to try to be nice, mix in some positive with the negative, but and try not to repeat myself because a lot of these are going to have the same problems as you'll come to see. But let's start with a bunch of trash, or at least trash cans. This is Trash Cans Warehouse, and it's obviously an e-commerce site. There are some things that I like about this that I normally don't see on e-commerce homepages, which is that we have kind of category drill downs, and that each of the images that we're seeing there on the homepage is not a single product, but clearly has this property of categoryness. That's good. You're using multiple objects to kind of show the diversity of different shapes or product offerings. What I'm having a little more of a problem with is if you actually look at the organization. I can't really just by looking at them tell plastic from, for example, metal. And that's one way, by material to design to kind of split it up. But then you move into kind of another way of doing it, which is ones with lids. I don't see ones without as an option. And then you have a specific material, for example, stainless steel. I would expect somehow that would be under metal. And then you have product lines, the Mount Everest collection and the Metro collection. So it's a bit of a mixing apples and bowling balls. So while I applaud the idea of having category level stuff on your site, they should be mutually exclusive choices that guide me down. And if you need another level of category or subcategory rather under that, that's great. Now I know you're in trash cans and those are pretty industrial, but the site itself with this kind of gray and blue color theme, I'd say is a little bit cold and austere and industrial itself, and I don't really know that it needs to be like that. On the plus side, I do see, and by the way, we're looking at this all on my 24-inch monitor, a nice collection of client logos. So, you know, I'm in good company. If Ford and Google and NASA and HP and GE buy trash cans from you, well, it means that you guys are solid in the waste industry. Sorry for the pun. Couldn't resist. So, a mix of good and bad things here, but I very much applaud you for having category level images instead of individual products that are visible further down the site. I'm going to talk about another one here, Johnston Raymond Equipment. I'm not really familiar with this company, and I think that unless you are, you're going to have a very hard time with this site. Now, what I'm really focusing on here, I would say, is the lack of saying what we are. Even big companies, strangely enough, start with big banner ads. And until I know what your company is, I mean, you have very deep navigation. Any one of these sub-menus, as you can see, if I expand them here, they have a lot of different menu options there. So it's a very deep site. And the question is, how do I navigate this? You have fleet management, lift trucks, parts and service, training, storage solutions, automated industries. I think that all of that is really kind of, big companies often have this problem of saying, we've got crap. Here's the categories of our crap, buy our crap. And unfortunately, if it's broadly applicable to a lot of different industries, what I think you should lead with are industry solutions. I think that would give you a single entry point, because I'm not thinking of buying lift trucks. I'm thinking I'm in the grocery business, or I'm in the manufacturing business, or I'm in the paper publishing business, or automotive, or what have you. So really kind of understanding that you serve my industry is probably the most important entry point here. So I would first of all move that over on your navigation to be more of a primary thing. But also on your home page, I would make a grid of the most popular industries. Again, it's kind of rule of 80-20. You don't have to show them all in the same visual emphasis, but you can show the most popular ones and say, see more industries, or have an expansion or something. But get me closer to my industry. Start talking about things that are important for me, not everything under the sun that you sell or can provide for me. That also shows proof that you work with my industry, case studies, well-known brand names of competitors. That makes me feel like you're the right fit for me. All right? So that's 2 down, 15 to go, believe it or not. Let's go to the UK, fastesthousebuyer.co.uk. Now this site is, it makes the mistake that they think that we understand what their business model is. So fastest house buyer, without a lot of reading, I don't really understand. So there's a form and a call to action, and it's pretty much in my face, get your cash offer now. But the problem is I don't understand the business model of how you work, what you do. At least in the U.S., it's not common for people to just hand out cash for houses. So if I'm selling a house, I think of a realtor going through a sales process. So this is like, are these guys for real, or is this one of those, sir, I would like you to send a $17 million check to Kenya. I promise I will give it right back, kind of things. So again, without trust and credibility, not explaining your business model is probably a bad thing. And if you're saying, well, we do explain it, all you have to do is read this whole page of tiny text, then I would say that's not going to happen. So don't rely on reading. You kind of jump right into, at the top, a call to action without setting the stage. I think that you probably need a little bit more of, okay, how it works, things that, the advantages of doing this instead of selling your house some traditional way, and then the call to action. Those should be kind of side by side, clearly laid out choices. Because right now it's a little bit of a ready, fire, aim, where you're asking for the call to action before I even know what the call to action means, I would say. All right. Let's switch. They are a pretty large company, and they interrupt you with, I kept this so I could save it, the deal of the week. So before I even get to their site, I'm confronted and having to deal with the deal of the week, that little light box popover. Now, again, if you've tested this, kudos to you. If you get email signups and then are able to prove that the sales of stuff to those email signups outweigh the bounce rate or extra people leaving this page on their current visit, that's probably worthwhile. But you should always test that. I'm a big fan of exit pop-ups of all types. If they're leaving, give them a discount, ask them a survey question, do whatever you feel is appropriate. They're probably not coming back, unless you have a cookie that says they've been there before. Then you don't want to annoy them with exit pop-ups necessarily. But in many cases, exit pop-ups are wonderful. Entry pop-ups, I don't know. That one can go either way. So again, hopefully you've tested this, and I'm just talking out of my hat. But if you haven't, then you should really think about this experience. I came to CDW. You interrupted me on the way in with an unexpected pop-up. Generally, that's not cool. Now, the pop-up has the right motivation, which is price savings. In e-commerce scenarios, the #1 reason people give up their email is to get discounts and promotions. But I don't necessarily want a deal of the week. You know, you say, you know, special VIP pricing. Sign up for our occasional offers. Okay, that's fine. If I know I'm going to have to get a deal of the week for you, that seems a little oppressive because I'm not buying computer equipment once a week. So I would rethink the frequency, or at least how you get people to opt into that. All right, well, let's assume that they dismiss that and go on to the main site. There's a very common problem that I'm seeing here, and you guys have probably seen it flashing in the background as I've been talking, and that is the dreaded rotating banner ad. Now, these are a deadly disease that are not only on e-commerce sites, but in fact on many, many home pages that we've seen. And there's a number of reasons that they're bad, but at the top of the list is the fact that we can't not react to visual information. Our survival brain, our reptilian part of our brain, has very good motion detection built in, about 220 degrees of vision for motion detection. Now, it's not high resolution, it's not even color, but we can tell when something's changing rapidly in our visual scene, and we have to react to it, and it activates that fight or flight instinct. So by having these banner ads, what you're doing is you're making it impossible for me to consume the other information on the page, because every 2 seconds I'm going to have to jerk my eye up there and see, well, what's that latest frame in the commercial? And so basically motion outweighs any static images, and static images dominate over any text. So if you're counting on me reading text on this page in the presence of motion and graphics, it's very, very hard for the brain to do that. And what makes it worse, if you think about the logic for that banner ad, you guys probably sell 100,000 different things, 100,000 SKUs or individual items, and yet you're advertising 3 of them. How do I know I want the Microsoft Surface 10.6 or the stunning LED TV? And even if those are your most popular categories, I would much rather you did what Trash Cans Warehouse did, which is drill down by categories. Once I'm in tablets, great. Featured tablet, okay, the Microsoft Surface. Once I'm in TVs, great. Featured Sharp TV or whatever it is, okay. But don't guess at what I want, because ultimately this is nothing more than a guess. So I think that I would go with category level navigation, get rid of the banner right now today, take it off. And at the bottom of the page I see another problem, which is you have product level stuff, individual products. And I think, again, that represents a big guess, and it's not appropriate on the home page of any large catalog with a lot of different options or categories underneath it. All right, let's continue on. Jenny Craig, you might have heard of this brand. They're pretty popular. They've been around forever. They have lots of TV commercials. And it's the main issue that I have with this is probably it's kind of a, again, it's not a rotating banner ad, but you have your kind of promotion du jour, pardon the pun, promotion of the day. Name your weight loss goal. That's your kind of current promotion probably. And that's good, but it doesn't, I see no navigation here. This is one of those kind of scrolling pages where you're relying on me scrolling. So if I scroll down the page, I see some more stuff, but it's essentially, I mean, I know this is a direct response, appointments.jennycraig.com, but basically it's kind of a, it's not your home page and your full corporate site, I understand that, but it's basically kind of take our offer or go away. And a lot of times, even if you have a direct response offer, here's things I'd want to know. The pricing, the other people who've gotten results with this, is it safe? I've never done it before. How do I get the food all of these other questions still need to be answered regardless of the current promotion that you're running. And I think it would be better to have a more traditional navigation bar and turn this into a microsite. Okay. The call to action is very clear here on the right-hand side, but I would say that the images are, in a way, down here are distracting from it. I understand the before and after image at the top of the page, but the 3 images at the bottom are just as visually striking, if not more, than the Get Started button. So I would probably tone down how loud and big the graphics and fonts are, and so that the call to action, that blue area with the orange button, gets a little more airplay. That the call to action button or whole area is the most visually dominant thing on the page. Remember, this is not a flyer that I got in the mail. Big graphics and high resolution is perfect for print, but this is still a website, and I have to be clear what's clickable, what the visual priorities are here, and I'm not necessarily getting that here. All right, let's look at another site, Rosetta Stone. This is the language learning software. And again, this is one of their landing pages, not the home page. But I want to ask all of you, what's the first thing you see on this page? And the answer is the peacock. It's a big, gratuitous graphic. And anytime you use kind of stock photography, I generally refer to that as business porn. Yes, business porn. We all like to do it. We think it's wonderful. It's really not. We've all seen stock photography. We've seen the happy group of coworkers around the conference table and pretty woman chewing on her pen while looking at her laptop while drinking a cup of coffee pictures, and so on. We've seen these visual metaphors in this language, and okay, maybe a peacock is a little more unusual, but it's still a very distracting image that captures my attention and actually pulls me off of the intended call to action. So I find this site a little difficult to digest in terms of the order that I'm supposed to do things. So again, I'm going to look at the peacock. I'm going to see this white section next to it, which is very high contrast, which says show off some new skills. And then I'm going to look at the bottom of the page, which is grayed out for some reason and looks inactive. In fact, it is inactive, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then only after that will I understand that the main point of this whole page is for me to first pick the language I'm interested in studying. So I think also, again, even though you are well known in the language learning industry, I would say that you still need a headline. This page is still about it. What is Rosetta Stone? Learn to speak any language in 2 months, okay, or whatever your kind of value proposition, and then pick your language, okay, because until I know that you have the language I want, let's say I'm learning, Swedish or Swahili, until I know that, how much it costs is irrelevant, and you could just as easily repeat the price proposition on the Swahili page once I get there. I'm not going to miss it. Also, try not to be cute. This whole show off some new skills and peacock showing off, it's kind of a cute marketing campaign or idea, but I hate to say it. If I have to digest it in a direct response medium like the web, it's probably not going to work because it's not literally telling me what I want. So if you're really saying learn any language in 2 months, guaranteed, pick your language, get $75 off for the next week, or sorry, $175 off, that's fantastic. Okay, but this doesn't even look like clickable link text to me. So you kind of have a little arrow and a triangle under the select your language pointing to that. But I think given all the other visual distractions, that should really be the center of attention, and it's not. One other thing I noticed, and you all may have noticed as well, is that there is this inactive area at the bottom of the page. Well, so you have to scroll down. It's still all inactive, 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 inactive until you pick your language. You can't even activate that part of the page. So I think something's broken. I clicked on that area, and it has to pop up something that tells me the list above has now scrolled off the page, so I can't even see it. So this is kind of too clever by half to my mind. Just have me pick a language and then reload the page and show me the stuff appropriate for my language on the next page. You don't have to condense it all literally into this landing page. I think that's too ambitious. It's also unusable. All right, let's look at Lifelock next. And on here is a giant picture, the picture is of a woman, and she's smiling, and we will look at pictures of people and faces, and she's looking to the side at someone off screen. The only thing I can see of that off-screen person is the fact that they have a hand and they're grabbing her credit card. Looks like a guy's hand, or a very large woman's, but the point is that we tend to follow other people's faces and use those as cues for information. So a sideways look like this, if she was looking at the headline or the call to action, that's one thing, but she's kind of looking like up and a little bit to out of the frame at something that we can't see. It's like this 1,000-yard gaze, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So be really, really careful. First of all, maybe you shouldn't use gratuitous stock photography in the first place, but be really, really careful about the exact images you use and their relationship to the calls to action on the page and how much visual attention that they're getting. Because this is all stuff that's very, very, you could say, well, we tried a picture of a woman and it didn't work. Well, no, it's that particular picture that may not work. So if you're doing split testing and you have high enough traffic, you should definitely be testing different images, but also consciously think of how they kind of spatially relate to the other things on the page. Now you have a lot of also strong background colors here, so actually this view, plans, and pricing, which is your main call to action, is not something that jumps out at me. There are a lot of other graphically striking parts of the page. You have an icon set here at the bottom that makes my eye skip down to those 3 icons. You have the burgundy stripe, which is also strong, and then a peekabooing at the bottom of the page. It looks like another button in the lower left that's yellow. So there's a lot of kind of, it's a visual elements into it, and there's no visual priority or kind of sequence in which I can sort of on autopilot examine the page. Also, you're assuming from the language here that, again, I think it's kind of marketing happy talk, peace of mind in an always connected world with LifeLock identity theft protection. Again, you're assuming I know what goes into that, and I don't. I don't necessarily. It's a fairly new kind of thing, identity theft protection with a guarantee, all the things it covers, what it protects you from, why I need it. All of those things you're assuming that people know, and just like go ahead and just jump right in. And I think if you have newer business models or lesser known brands, I think that you can't really make that assumption. So I would spell it out for people, say why you need it, or a lot of people might be showing up here after the fact, and they're not looking for peace of mind. They're kind of more in a triage situation, like I just got my identity hacked or my credit card stolen or whatever the case may be, and they're in, just among other things, one thing I might try is an ebook that says what to do if your identity was hacked, what to do in the first 48 hours, or 7 biggest mistakes after to make after your identity has been stolen. I mean, wouldn't you download that ebook? And you know that just happened to them because they just downloaded the ebook, and you have their email address now, and you can do a lot more offline stuff now in order to influence them. And that's a very, very important concept. As much as I love on-page conversion, it doesn't mean that the whole transaction is going to transpire on the site. A lot of times you'll have to warm up a lead. A lot of times you'll have to get information out of them over time, and eventually they'll graduate to being your client. And so it's you can think most of the stuff is below the waterline. It's all of the plumbing of your marketing automation system and the email sequences you're sending out and the lead scoring that you're doing and the data append. There's a lot of plumbing that needs to happen behind the scenes. So the call to action shouldn't always be see plans and pricing. It might be download a white paper so we can start a conversation with you. And then that stuff has to be followed up off of the website. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful. Let's jump back into an e-commerce scenario. Now, this is lighting showroom, and I'm just going to ask you guys to internally think about it, just in your mind. Is this a professional site? My short answer answer is no. Carleton University in Canada is that people will form a visual first impression of a web page in 1/20th of a second. Half of our brain is devoted to processing visual information in one form or another. We know whether a site is highly professional or cheesy, or rather where it lies on that continuum. And that first impression, that automatic first impression that we formed, is actually going to permanently skew our view of the site. And if we don't see it as trustworthy, no matter what kind of BBB logos or other stuff you put on the bottom part of your site, okay, that's all wonderful stuff, but you know, the eyes don't lie, or we judge a book by its cover. And so what I'm thinking of is, gee, it's got some kind of tacky, antique wallpaper, like the stuff that I would probably, you know, like when grandma dies and you sell the house and you remodel it, you know, that's the first thing you tear off. It's got these really kind of unattractive gray stencil versions of the categories, you know, so it looks dark and oppressive. It's gray on gray, not very attractive at all, not showcasing the beautiful actual physical pieces and lighting that you sell. Okay, it has a very narrow left text in that, as well as the top navigation bar in reverse color. So it's very, every little piece of the inside of this page is stuffed with stuff. I don't know if that's redundant, but there's no place for my eye to rest or room to breathe. A good design makes use of open space and negative space, and this is just jammed in. Well, you know, what else can we put in there? It's good to keep things above the fold, but it's not really good to make it claustrophobic. This is like again, just overusing this analogy, but it's like a hoarder or something. This is like, oh yeah, eventually the stacks of newspapers fell in on top of them, and they were found dead 3 months later when the neighbors noticed the smell. I mean, this is kind of like the same thing, the web equivalent of that. So, I mean, you sell beautiful stuff. Show it off, I think, in years and years, and I'm just telling you, it's no longer passing muster in terms of just production quality. It needs a complete redesign. All right, let's move on. The next one I want to talk about, and then let me erase some of my scribblings here. The next one I want to talk about is, actually I believe it's a Finnish site, Litti, and I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. And the one thing that you probably haven't heard of them, not because they're Finnish, but because they're in a very niche category. And I just want to ask you, when you read that headline, do you know what they do? Do less manual work at your events. The actual key to the puzzle lies in their subheading, event management software. Okay, that should be the headline, folks. That should be at the top of the page. I shouldn't have to guess at what they do. One of the benefits of it is there's less running around at your events. How can we help? Easy registration, increase attendance, see the big picture. That's all wonderful stuff in those bottom 3 boxes. But what I need to know first is what exactly you do. Again, because maybe you're just aiming at the Finnish market, although I doubt it. This is an English language site. So one thing that, if I'm going to put my whole event in your hands and use your software, I want to know who uses it. And you have that information, but you buried it at the bottom of the page. So if it's used by over 400 companies, including Deloitte and Europcar, again, it looks like mostly European companies, but regardless, those should be right up front. Those should be visible in that first screenful to give me that sense of trust and credibility, so that I know I can rely on you, and that I know that you're not just some kind of fly-by-night outfit. It's a big risk for me to put my event on any event registration software. I know I run a conference series, and for better or for worse, once you select one, it's a big decision. And if something doesn't work, or if the sign-up for the optional post-conference workshops is difficult, or the email templates that go out to people to confirm their registrations aren't flexible enough, those are all things that are going to be a big, big pain in the butt. And so it's not a decision you make lightly. So I would ask is, one thing is make sure that the trust is there, and I know that your guys are credible. The other thing that I would do is I would also have testimonials. maybe video testimonials, short, 30-second, or collage of people saying good things about you. Get them on a webcam saying, before we did this, we used to do this by hand, and now our life has become wonderful. So I think that the event planners have to be on here saying good things about you. Okay. And you do have a section about customers, but what I guess I'm saying is that I would probably promote that somehow and personalize it and assure people that it's okay for them to do the service. Let me switch gears for a second and just show you an example off of our site. So let's say you go to get one of our online reviews. Well, when you get to that page, you're going to see a bunch of testimonials. In fact, you'll get sick of looking at them. As you can see, they're on the bottom of the page there, and that part of the page scrolls on and on and on and on and on, and there's probably 20 or 30 testimonials, so you get down to the bottom of the page. And we're personalizing it by putting the person's picture in there, as well as the logo of their company and a nice pull-out quote that's them saying nice things about us. So I suggest using something like that to increase your credibility, not necessarily features. But also, you should consider that some people might be switching from another system, and you have to make the pitch to them. So say, hey, this is my first time that I'm considering event management software, or I'm switching from another event management software. A lot of times, the right answer is to let people just self-select off of the home page and get off of the home page, so that you just say, okay, I'm picking new software, or I'm switching from some other software, because those people have a completely different set of concerns. They also have a different knowledge of the fact of what is event management software and so on. So role-based would probably be a real good way to design this homepage. All right. Sticker Blast, another e-commerce site here. And I'll just point out some things that are probably redundant because we've spoken about them already, but we have a rotating banner ad. That's not good. We also have trust, but I believe here that the trust, in a way, on the right-hand side of satisfied customers is a little bit too strong. Those are all very easily identified logos, Ford's on it, just like they were on Trash Can Warehouse. But in Trash Can Warehouse, you notice that they had those logos backed off to grayscale, as the Target logo is just so inherently strong because of its visual design that it's going to stand out and be much more powerful than the Paramount logo or the Roxy logo. So you have to kind of equalize. You have to sweat the small stuff and equalize them for their visual impact, make them look roughly the same, and they're just the kind of oh yeah, these people work with big companies so I can trust them, and then boom, you're moving into the rest of the content. If you keep it full color, it just pulls too much attention. Of course, nothing like the attention that the rotating banner ad pulls, like I said earlier. So one thing that you probably want to do is to talk about, you say custom stickers, and you can presumably have stickers for anything. But, for example, what are meaningful decisions within stickers? Well, one might be the shape, like you're saying here. Another might be whether they're indoor or indoor and outdoor. Another might be the type of glue and what they stick to, and whether they're easy to peel off or not. So instead of just saying, here's all the stuff we have, I would say that you probably want to, it's good you have some notion of kind of an experience where you take them step by step through something, but beyond the sticker shape, on this next page you're basically saying, great, fill out our lead form and here's some prices on them. If all it depends on is the sticker shape, I don't order stickers very often, so again, on occasional ordering things like this, I would say you need to educate your clients and give them some, 7 biggest mistakes when ordering stickers. I like the 7 biggest mistakes. It's fear-based, and everybody wants to avoid mistakes. So, even if they don't order stickers from you, if they download that, maybe you don't even ask for an email for that. Maybe you just let them download it, and in the back of that nicely formatted ebook where you educate them about the pros and cons and gotchas of various sticker ordering options, then there's a, hey, great, get your custom quote. That takes you directly back to this quote page. That's fantastic. You haven't lost anything, but you're catching people upstream earlier in the sales funnel. So a lot of what I'm seeing here is this is kind of what I call a case of greedy marketer syndrome. So if you assume that you have a sales funnel, what you're really saying is, I'm ready for you to give me money. If you're at the bottom of the funnel, we want to talk to you. And the problem is you're ignoring the 95% that are higher up in the funnel in the decision-making process, haven't decided what kind of stickers, what they're made out of, how much they cost, what quantity they need them in, the lead times, how permanent or fade-proof they are, any of that stuff yet, how to interact with you and get you the design properly, whether they can get a proofed version before committing to the big order. Those are all a lot of things that people need answered before they buy. And you're basically saying, hey, take a 30-foot standing broad jump and just buy now. Now, maybe some people will, or they'll just give up. Or maybe they'll go to your competitor's site who provides them with this information about things they care about higher up in the funnel, and you lost them forever. So I'm saying play content marketing judo. Have stuff for early stage people, either downloadable and or grabbing an email from them so you can communicate with them. And if they were on your competitor's site and it's kind of go big or go home, order or go away, and they went away, that competitor lost the opportunity, whereas by getting them into a conversation or getting their email address early in the process, you've actually earned the right to continue the conversation with them off of your site. So maybe the call to action is what's wrong. Maybe you shouldn't only be pushing actual orders. All right. Let's look next at a store you may have heard of, Montgomery Ward. Now, what do you think Montgomery Ward sells? Now, we all know it's a large department store, but right now it looks like they sell bedding and or beds only. Well, we know that's not the case because you can see on the same page lower down, rugs, cameras, vacuum cleaners, mixers and kitchen appliances. They sell everything, a lot of stuff, right? So this is another common problem that we see on large catalog sites is somebody says, hey, I'm the product manager for the bedding department and I want my moment in the sun. I want my 15 minutes of fame. I want to take over the whole homepage for this week or month or day or whatever your time amount is. And that's a problem because what you're doing is you're doing this promotion-based stuff on your homepage as opposed to, that doesn't even apply site-wide. That's only of interest to people looking for bedding-related stuff, quilts and comforters, right? It's not of interest to me if I went there looking for a Nikon camera like you're seeing in the middle of the bottom of the page, or a vacuum cleaner. I don't care about duvets, okay, and shams and pillow covers. That's not what I'm there for. You're guessing, and that guess is unfortunately taking up the prime real estate. If this was on a smaller screen, all you'd see would be that big ad, that big banner, and you wouldn't even see the category level navigation down below, which is incomplete as it is. So it's really kind of a dangerous move to assume that people are there for the promotion of the moment. If you're a Groupon or some kind of deal-a-day site, yeah, you should feature your daily deal right there on your homepage. Fantastic. But if people know your brand and they know that you sell a lot of stuff, the goal of your homepage should be to get them closer to their goal. Again, this should be category-level navigation grid and not some giant promotion that dominates everything. Okay? Because I'm not there looking for it, so don't guess at what I want. Okay, let's talk next about, I had to do this site, folks. You may not know this, but I went to high school in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. Yes, exit 4 off the Jersey Turnpike for those of you natives. And so I had to review Cherry Hill Jeep, one of our submissions. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have too many good things to say about it. What we have here is a visual assault. This is the web equivalent of somebody shooting an Uzi submachine gun at your face at point-blank range. It just makes you want to hit the back button and leave. Look at how much motion is going on this page. First of all, we have the giant rotating banner ad, which, again, I won't talk about. There's even a whole set of controls for advancing, pausing, and rewinding the frames in that banner ad. So you have to learn a user interface kind of navigation paradigm in order just to go through the commercials. That's not good. Then the chat now, I don't know if you can see this on the GoToWebinar, but the chat now on the right-hand side is blinking and pulsing occasionally. And if that's not enough, we have a very nice-looking gentleman in the chat now. Have questions? I'm online. Chat now in the header as well, and that's actually blinking annoyingly. So you have three visually changing things in the scene, and you have also this very, very harsh reverse dark color background of the page, reverse text. It's all giant pictures of cars down in the bottom half of the page and so on. I mean, this thing is, there's just, it's impinging on me in every possible way. And unfortunately, the fact that it's a car dealership doesn't help, because you know what? We all know that guy in the plaid seersucker suit. Hey, so what would it take to get you into this car today? You know, I mean, that's what this site screams. It doesn't say professional, and that's my biggest problem with it. So I would make this much more about, tone it down, make it more benign, get all the motion off of it, and then I think that you probably have, most dealers sell several makes. So there's several ways you could enter the site. One is by make. I know I want a Dodge or a Chrysler or a Jeep or a Ram and pre-owned. So that little bar, which again compared to everything else on the page doesn't really stand out near the bottom there, that's really one key way of navigating. Okay. Another thing that you might want to have is sell or trade in your car. That's a reason for you to talk to somebody, because if they're selling or trading it in, chances are they want a new one. So if somebody wants to know about how to do that, you kind of saying, I have an entry point for you. I have a way to engage with you. But generally, I think it should be just toned down a heck of a lot. It's just too much of everything. All right. One of our clients, VPI, Veterinary Pet Insurance, I think might have given the same advice when we talked back years ago, but you guys submitted the site, so I'm going to give it to you again. Okay, pet insurance. Great stuff. What do you guys see on that page? I bet you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. The smiling lady with the doggy. And what do you see? What are the pictures you see below that? Two more doggies, and then at the bottom of the page there's a parrot head sticking up out of the middle. That's great, but the problem is I just got two cats. So do I feel welcomed here? Got a lady, 3 dogs, and a parrot. So I'd say that the very first thing that this fails on is, you're saying we have plans, we have pricing, but I don't see recognition of me here. Now, you probably have it, and you have, I'm sure, different plans, or maybe they're the same plans, maybe I'm wrong, but even if they are the same plans, I think about, well, here you go, actually you do, if I read the fine print, which most people won't do, you have dog health insurance and cat health insurance down there in the text, but really, if you know that 95% of people have either dogs or cats as their pets, and a few occasional strange people with albino boa constrictors, okay, fine, you can say others, see more or whatever. But basically, the first entry point should be dog person, cat person. And if I'm the cat person, stop showing me dogs. Now, I understand some households have both, and that's fine. They can always jump over to the other section later or whenever they want. Or when you give them one policy, say, hey, are there other pets you want covered under this policy? Multiple pet, multiple species policy, that's fine. But as an entry point, I know one thing. I know what pet I have. It's either Fluffy, the kitty, or Bowser, the dog, and generally cat people are not dog people or vice versa, so I need to feel welcomed. And so I would say this whole page should be about self-selection by the type of pet you have. Okay. The other thing, you do have some nice customer reviews, but again, I would like those to be in context. So on the cat page, show me cat reviews. On the dog page, show me dog reviews. And then you kind of have 3 plans, but you expect me to just jump right in. You have comprehensive, economical, and emergency. I don't really know. So again, I think there's a level of education. If I'm thinking about getting pet insurance, which in itself is a relatively new thing, at least in the broad public's mind, then maybe telling me about, how do you finding the right coverage for you? Just like, the Obamacare website, people don't know what kind of health care coverage they need. Well, it's basically somewhat just as complicated for getting insurance for your dog or your cat. So you need to educate me about that. All right, let's continue on. I'm going to talk next, and I've chosen websites that look pretty good for most of this. I'm going to break that streak right now, and I'm going to talk to you about bridgecable.com. Who thinks, rhetorical question, that this is a professional site? Wow. I mean, okay, I understand maybe you're a fairly small localized business, but you're serving Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, you have some reach there, and presumably you want people to think, and you say in words that you are known as the foremost authority in network cabling and all low voltage installations. The foremost authority, folks. That's quite a claim, okay? And it's not at all backed up by your website, which, if I may say so in French, is complete fromage. It's cheese. It's total cheese. It's really tacky. It's a time warp back to 1995, right around when Al Gore invented the interwebs. Okay, it's just mostly text, horribly laid out text, tacky text, and then a bunch of stuff plunked into a sea of whiteness. Just random clip art, social media sharing, pictures, logo repeated down at the bottom. None of it fits, none of it's aligned, none of it is thought through. And to make things worse, and this was okay when monitors were fairly narrow, but again, I hope you can see how ridiculous this looks on my 24-inch monitor. The default for a page should be centered on the page, and it's fixed width and bounded. Okay, I'm looking at the center of the screen. As it is, instead of looking at the center of the screen, I have to turn my head a good 10 degrees to the left to even look at your page because it's not in front of me in the middle of my monitor. I mean, there's no excuse for that kind of stuff. So I don't know who you are. I don't find you trustworthy or compelling. I don't know if you've ever had a client in your life. I don't know if clients are satisfied with you. All of this stuff with just kind of a call now, giant toll-free number in the middle of the page. I'm not ever going to pick up that phone number. And if you have people doing it, they either know you already, maybe referred to someone by reputation, or they're not very selective. But I can tell you that the quality of this page is alienating the vast majority of people you say you want as clients. Okay, I think that I can get off my soapbox now, but folks, there's no excuse for this. Odesk, Elance, actually I think they merged recently. There's a lot of really, really good web designers in Russia, Brazil, and China willing to make you a fantastic website for a few $100 for a small business like this. That's all we're talking. Okay, so you can't just be out there with sites this old and looking this tacky. Right. Let's talk about flushbottomvalves.net. And you'd say, well, what does that mean exactly? And I would say, I don't know very well either. But obviously it's an industrial manufacturing company, and they make valves, as near as I can figure, for big tanks of whatever, slurry, vegetable oil, I don't know. Maybe it's specialized applications, but they're basically like, how do you flush out your tank? How do you get the bottom, to clear out your tanks? But they're always but they're looking at it almost like, okay, we have a catalog of parts. Well, I'm sure it's not that simple, right? Maybe I want valves that withstand very high pressures. Maybe I want valves that can withstand temperature extremes. Maybe I want valves that can withstand corrosion and specific kinds of chemicals or compounds being housed in those tanks without needing any maintenance or repair. Maybe I want valves that pass certain government or military standards, and none of that is here. It's kind of like buy stuff from us, and really it needs to be much more about the kind of applications. So what is this used for? Manufacturing plants, sewage treatment plants, residential apartment building boiler rooms. I don't know. Again, I don't know what your applications are, but I would make it much more about the intended use. So don't talk to me about everything you sell and everything you do, but get me down the path of what do you need it for? Great. Let's go off to the next page where we tell you we're specialists in that. Because chances are I don't need all of these, I need one of these. And chances are I may need to be guided to what I need. So another great thing when you have a complicated, multifaceted, expensive, high-risk decision like this to make is to have a guided wizard. To have a wizard that tells me exactly what I need to know by educating me. So again, it's like, oh, great. What size capacity is your tank? Oh, do you store any acids or corrosive chemicals in it? Here are some examples. Is this an indoor or outdoor application that, does this need to withstand extremes of freezing or hot temperature? If you ask me probably 3 or 4 questions, you can get me down to the set of things that I should consider. And it's not choose one of these things on this page. It's you telling me what I need based on your knowledge of products. But that knowledge of products has to be embedded in the website. It can't be just contact us. So, because more and more people are making decisions online without talking to somebody, without contacting your company. They want to do as much research as they can. So you have to support, again, those earlier stages in the buying process. That's very critical. All right. Then we have CDphoneHome.com. One of my issues with this site, sure, quick glance, what do you see? You have a lady on the phone, then you see a bunch of gels with different cell carriers. Great, but I don't know what you do. Do you resell phone plans? Do you sell handsets? What am I getting here from you? As near as I can figure, you can get phones for any of the major carriers. But from what I've seen, at least on the Verizon part, they're not necessarily even the latest phones. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but they look like kind of last generation phones for not too much money. So if you need a new handset, and then you would just want to connect it to your existing account at Verizon or AT&T, this is the place you go. But that really wasn't clear because there is actually no headline on the original homepage. Every page needs a headline. Every page I need to know what it's about. We have 8 gels. What are you? I don't know, but I'm going to click on an AT&T logo. I don't think so. You have to say brand name phones that work with your phone plan. Select your carrier. Now that I get. Okay, cheap brand name phones or quality or however you want to position yourself, that I understand. But just jump in, assume that people know what you do, I don't think that's going to work very well. Let's talk about one more, and here I am. I made it through 17 of them with minutes to spare. Check into cash. What's everybody looking at? The lady with the white, super white smile holding that stack of Benjamins in her hand. Yes, $100 bills. Need cash, we make it easy. Well, not so much. I think that, yeah, you're trying to get form fills, but you guys are, what's unclear is how do I get the cash? I mean, well, you have to apply, then you sign, then you get cash, but then you talk about finding a location here at the bottom of the lower left of the screen, and that's a little confusing. So do I have to go to your stores to get cash? And we've worked in the payday loan industry, so we're very familiar. Are you giving me a pre-qualification online, or is it a guarantee that I actually get the money? You'll still need to verify my employment or my bank account. So there's a lot of things that you won't need, or sorry, that you'll need to know in addition to having this kind of direct response part. Having said all that, and again, I know your industry, people that need payday loans and cash now, will walk on broken glass to get it. So the direct response should definitely be there, should be on the home page. I would just say, don't have the woman look at me, because whenever anyone looks at you, you look straight back at them, so that eye contact you establish and your reptilian brain looking at all that is not helping your call to action. The lady should be smiling and in profile and staring down at the call to action. Okay, excuse my poor freehand drawing there, but there's the lady. She should be looking at the form and visually, not at me and isolating me from the form. And the form needs to be a little more contained, should pop a little more, should have a background color. I think you can tighten up this page quite a bit. But overall, it's a nice, professional, clean look, and I think that you could probably make a stronger value proposition. Get cash in 24 hours in your account. That's compelling. That gives me both the time frame and also the upper limit. For example, get up to $5,000 cash in your account in less than a day. Okay, boom, got it. Now I have a reason to interact with your form. And then apply now or get cash. Again, that may be a little too in your face, but probably works in this industry, so that's okay. All right, well, we've been going through super quickly a ton of different websites. I just want to throw up a couple of things that I'd like you guys to know about. The first is, if you have not been to a conversion conference, we do this session, these live landing page critiques, as the closing session at every one of our conversion conference. We call it Afternoon at the Improv, but kind of the same thing you've experienced. You will learn by drinking from the fire hose. The top minds in conversion rate optimization are going to be there. You should be too. Our 2014 schedule, March, right around the corner, in San Francisco, Chicago in June, and Boston in October. For those of you listening in from overseas, we also have Paris and London and Berlin in the fall. So come to those. I'll be keynoting and teaching workshops there as well. For our webinar listeners, we have a code, Live14, which will get you $150 off the registration. So jot that down, Live14. Go to conversionconference.com and check it out. We have the full agenda up already. And Brian Eisenberg is back, first time in 4 years since our inaugural event, to keynote alongside of me and Bart Schutz. Also, if you like these mini reviews but you didn't get enough, or if you want us to, in a private setting, totally shred your website on a personalized basis, I suggest you take advantage of our Express Review special offer. We have both a 45 and a 90-minute review, depending on whether you're doing a standalone page or a full website. We have you fill out a background questionnaire, go through an interactive review on GoToMeeting, record the whole video, send it to you so you can play it back later. And if you sign up by Friday, you don't have to do the review by Friday, but just order by Friday at expressreviewoffer.com using the promo code LIVE14. You can also get $150 off of that. So hopefully that's an incentive. I'm very easy to reach. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. Hope to see you on a future webinar. And please tweet and tell us what you thought of this, or get in touch with us and tell us topics you'd like for future webinars. It's now exactly 12 o'clock Pacific time. I wish you a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.